What's up, and welcome to The Greatest Teacher of All Time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color, tied their philosophies, strategies, and personalities. Today, I've got Miss Maina. What's up, Miss Maina?
Hello.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm ready.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's get right into it. So you are a third grade teacher, and I saw you on Instagram and everything, and I really want to talk to you because you first started teaching during the pandemic, that 2020 school year, right?
Yes, I started teaching during the computerized learning and the distance learning. Yes.
Yeah. So that being your introduction to teaching, how was that? Like, what did you think of it?
It was definitely a curveball to teaching, thinking you're gonna go into a classroom to not even setting up your classroom and doing everything. I did it from home. So I was working actually from home with my computers and my monitors. And I set up a whole display in the back for my students every day. So it wasn't just my face they were seeing a whole display. But it was very interesting. A lot of attention grabbers I had to do online, a lot of online programs, a lot of breaks for the kids, and a lot of me trying to navigate through the internet and how the computer works, and not just teaching it.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, you're a young teacher, right? So you grew up and born on the computer and everything. So that part was probably a little easy for you, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. There were some things that I did have to work on, but I was blessed to be able to understand most of it, and then I could teach my students how to do it too.
Okay. And doing that with third graders, how do you think they responded? Because they're like even, or at least you would think they'd be even more tech savvy, or no? What is that?
Yeah, they were pretty tech savvy. At that point, they were already doing computer games like Roblox and Fortnite, and they knew how to text message on the computer. So most of them knew how to navigate the computer, most of the basics. I just had to teach them the learning programs that we were doing and going over. But it was fun. I had to keep an eye out for those ones who really knew what they were doing, because we had some sneaky ones trying to text back and forth or do
Oh,
games at
yeah.
the same time. And yeah, it was hard, but it was cool for me to see what they know.
Yeah. So I was teaching high school physics at the time, virtually online, and yeah, they know a lot because they're in high school with the technology and everything. But yeah, I can only imagine the third graders and fourth graders being more sneaky like that, right? But maybe down to like the education side. So you had the first experience being virtual, and now most schools are in person. Now you're in person, correct?
Yes, I've been in person for 2 years straight now.
Okay, so yeah, great. How can you kind of compare those with your first experience teaching being virtual to now being more regular, I guess?
It's definitely very, very different. A lot of more community building, and I think building with your students, and trust and relationships way more in person than on the computer. Um, and they came back excited to learn. So I think from being in distance learning so much and on the computer, they didn't want to be on the computer when they came back. So they wanted paper pencil, they wanted to be writing. So it's very different from even seeing their handwriting versus typing all the time on the computer. Those small differences, even navigating through a classroom and having a routine and a structure, from being at home and on the computer. It was very, very different for them to have that change and to switch back into the school routine. But they really enjoy being at school, being around their friends. And I really enjoyed seeing them in person and seeing their work one-on-one, rather than them showing it up and me barely being able to read it.
Yeah, I could definitely imagine that. Maybe getting more into like the actual learning aspects. So again, when I was teaching the high school physics class, this was like maybe a 11th grade class, right? Coming back in person, it felt like, or it actually was, these students weren't in school since was 11th, 8th or 7th grade, right?
Yeah.
So I was really taking in 7th graders and like expecting them to behave, to write and to basically be intellectually there as a 11th or 10th grader, right? But
Mhm.
they're really these 7th graders. How is that for you with 3rd graders? Did it feel like they were, or at least coming back now, does it feel like they're 1st graders or kindergartners coming into you?
Yes, it did at first. It felt like I had third graders coming in and they definitely felt like first grade kindergarten level with, according to academics, their writing skills, even their math skills and their reading was pretty low. And even their behavior wise of just reviewing routines of how to stay in our seat, how to raise your hand and not talk over people, and how, so yeah, academic wise, it was me teaching third graders at first grade with first grade content, and then building from first grade to second grade and trying to move them up to where we were content level wise for third grade.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely applaud you for that because that sounds rough, but I know you got it. You got the experience for it. Yeah. And maybe going into that, right? So, more of how you're teaching now in person with regular school, right?
Mhm.
How do you handle like behavior and motivation, stuff like that? And I want to start this out by saying when I was in school, 4th grade was when I got my first real responsibilities. Like, that's when I first got in trouble for not doing my homework. Right? So is that true? Is 3rd grade like all fun and games before you get to the 4th grade, or what are you guys doing there?
I will say, at least in my class, third grade is always seen, or I feel like, as the middle child. They're
Mm,
not first or second, and they're not fourth or fifth. They're not the big kids, but they're not the little kids. So I think it's actually really important that they are taught responsibility, and this is their first type of responsibility is in third grade. So I do give them a lot of responsibility in here to keep track of their items. We also have my classroom was jungle themed, so we have jungle jobs. So they everybody each week gets a job of their own, and they're responsible for doing that job and upholding that job. So um, they're coming from second grade at that stage where, oh, I get to do this and this and this. But now, oh, yes, we need to step back. You're going to be fourth and fifth grade soon. So you need to start learning some responsibilities. So not pushing them too hard, but making it where they do need to make sure they keep track of their stuff. They're responsible for turning in their work, and making sure that they are doing their part around the classroom. And it makes it easier on me too.
I could imagine, yeah. Because again, 3rd or 4th grade was when I was like hit with all my responsibilities. So I'm glad that 3rd grade teachers now are like getting students higher up in those levels. So again, thank you
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
how do you handle like motivation and things like that? Like, how do you get someone to want to do their homework at such a young age, you know?
Right. I do have in my classroom every morning, we have morning circle time, and they're basically morning meetings. And we do affirmations. I'm really big on positive affirmations in my class, and we say them all together every single day. We talk about some examples would be I choose my own attitude, I'm proud of myself, I get better every single day, my best is always enough. So I have them repeat those things every day, even if they're like, like at least they're saying it. And at least it lets them know that I believe in them as well as they should believe in themselves. So I'm really big on them at least doing their best. And even if they don't know, just trying it, and then making them feel good about themselves. And I give out a lot of rewards and incentives, which I know some teachers are kind of iffy about.
Yeah.
But if they're trying their best and it's something that's really, really difficult, even small rewards, such as saying, good work, I like how you did that and that, or pointing out the good things they're doing instead of the not so good things, and helping them fix it for the better instead of telling them what they did wrong. So I try to switch my language with them, and then also just have them know that they are doing an awesome job from me too.
Yeah, that's really good. And especially those kids at the really young ages. Like, I think you're definitely doing that because affirmations, when I think of that something you do like as an adult in therapy or things like that, right? Yeah. So again, I really like that you do that with young students. That's great. Yeah. And now maybe moving on to your how you got so experienced like this, right? So I want to talk more about your teacher education program and how it prepared you. And I'll start this off by saying there was a teacher I interviewed in the past, Miss Hunter, and she was talking about her education program and how she started with an associate's degree in education and then got her master's degree in education. And that gave her those years of experience being with students and interacting with them before she was the full-on teacher. As opposed to mine, I had a master's in education. So I was literally student teaching over the summer. And then that next school year, I was in the classroom.
Wow.
Yeah. So can you tell me maybe about yours and like how your experience prepared you?
Yeah, so I went, after graduating high school, I went straight into community college. So I got my associate's degree after 2 years, and then I went straight to university and I got my bachelor's. So I have my bachelor's and I did my student teaching during my bachelor's degree. And then I graduated, and then I got a job straight out of getting my bachelor's degree. So I don't have my master's yet, but I did my 4 years, and then I got my associates and my my bachelor's. And I would say part of my experience with kids is I also worked in my high school's daycare that they had. So I worked with preschoolers for 2 years. My junior and senior year of high school, I worked with them every day after school too. So I've always worked with kids, and I've been in daycares and elementary schools, and I've always volunteered at elementary schools in different grade levels too, to get that experience and just observations from other teachers of what I've seen. So it wasn't necessarily education as well, but me going out and looking at different opportunities to meet with kids and be in after school programs as well.
Okay, okay. So you've always liked more the younger students, right? How'd you choose third grade?
Yeah, third grade, I was going to be a preschool teacher, I will say. And then I realized, wow, I would like to make just a little bit more money.
Ah, okay, okay. I hear it.
The salary changed my mind a little bit. And then I jumped into first and second grade, and I really liked second grade. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess I can do. And then I really liked third grade because I did my student teaching in third grade. And so third grade was the soft spot for me.
Mm.
So, and then I got a job in third grade, and I was like, okay, I love this grade. So, but I'm really okay with everything in the spectrum. The only thing I haven't done, which I don't know if I'd be willing to do, would be kindergarten, because that's just really, you need to be as a special type of teacher, I feel like, to teach kindergarten.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But with all your experience, right, did you feel fully prepared? I know that's like a loaded question because students are so dynamic and so are schools, but like, did you feel fully prepared already?
Jumping into teaching for my first year,
Yeah.
um, no. And I will say mostly because it was distance learning,
Yeah.
because it was totally unexpected, and I had no clue what was going on. And that's not something you're taught when you go to college. They don't teach you how to do online classes to kids.
Yeah.
So I wasn't prepared in that way. But as far as curriculum and content, I did feel prepared in that area. So it was just the distance learning that kind of threw me off my first year.
Okay, okay. Because yeah, my follow-up was going to be, what do you think could have helped you? But in your words, what do you say?
Yeah, I would say also what would have helped me is probably more college classes on content-based learning. Basically, if we had like a generalized curriculum, and you made college students just look at the curriculum and pick lessons out of there. Because I feel like in college, I was prepared a lot to make my own lessons. And teaching, you don't really make your own lessons as much. You're given curriculum, and then you have to adapt your lessons from there. So just maybe more adapting rather than creating your own would have been more helpful for me in teaching. And I
Hmm.
think it's probably just my experience. Other people could have had a different experience.
Yeah, that definitely is interesting. Yeah, because I think, or I'm pretty sure my experience had been, you're given the curriculum, like you need to make it through XYZ chapters and units, figure
Mhm.
out how to do that. Right. So that's where I would have to make my own lessons based on what they're given. Is that kind of what you're saying also, or did I remix that?
Yes, yes, making your own lessons and adapting to the lessons that they give you, depending on how strict your school and your district
Mhm.
is on following the curriculum.
Okay, okay, I get you. I get you. Yeah, and maybe going a little further with that, right? So, um, I taught high school physics, and again, I did it relatively young, right out of college. I was student teaching and everything. Um, and I always felt like I had an advantage because I would be like 5 or 8 years older than some of the students I had, right? So I could like connect on those different levels, right?
Mhm.
With you, you're teaching students who are like what, 20, 15 years younger than you? How do you think you connect in that those, or how do you think you connect to students that much younger than you?
I will say it's kind of a bonus that I am younger
Okay.
in that way. So I know more of like the TikTok stuff they do, the all of the
Third,
electronics
wait,
and
wait,
the
wait.
games.
Third graders are on TikTok? That's a thing?
Yeah, you
Ooh,
would be surprised. Yes.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yes, that is a thing. It's too much of a thing if you ask me.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Yes, so I feel like in environment wise with what they're exposed to, I can relate more in that way because I'm younger. But it is hard sometimes just with still the content um that they're used to or that they watch on TV or different things like that. Um, but as far as relating to them, I just try at the beginning of the year to figure out what they like. And
Hmm.
then sometimes I try like, oh, if they like really like this show, I'll go and maybe watch an episode. Or if they have something from somewhere that they really, really enjoy, I'll try to get some information on that. So trying to see what they like and then creating lessons and just talking about what 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 they like because students are very they love to talk about the things they like.
Yeah, and that is so interesting to me because the reason why I considered it an advantage that I was so close in age to these students is
Mhm.
because I did not have to go looking to find out what they were interested in. We already had the same interests,
Right.
right? I remember it was so weird coming back from like a holiday break or something. One of my students telling me what they did. They were like, "Yeah, I was at this concert. So and so was great." And I'm listening. I'm like, "Wait, I was at that concert." Like we were there together. We're like, but like not together. But you know what I mean. But like,
Yeah, I love it.
yeah. But like we naturally had that in common where I didn't have to like do extra work to seek that out, right?
Yeah.
Do you
And
think, I'm sorry, finish?
oh, I was just gonna say that's awesome with older kids. That's the great advantage of them being as like near your age more.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I'm just saying the difference is that you have to go looking for the similarities as opposed to just naturally being there.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes I will bring up something old school, which might not be old school to me, but it would be to them. Even some cartoons like Scooby Doo, they'll be like, "What is that?" and,
Ah,
and I'm like, "Oh, well, that was a cartoon from my age." Or going back with history and talking about Michael Jackson, or even Obama. Some of these kids didn't know who Obama was, and so we had a conversation about that, and we learned about him and why he was important. And it was, yeah, I think like that in history that I know that they don't. I like to expose them to that too. But yeah, it's like, oh, you don't know who that is? Oh, we have to dive deep into that.
wow, that is so interesting. And what an opportunity for you to be like the teacher who gets to expose them to things like that.
Yes, it's very fun. We have a lot of fun in here.
Yeah. Oh man, I can imagine. Wow. Third grade your way. Wow. Again, thank you for sharing all this, Miss Mina. Because of your insight in education, how you handle these behavior issues, how you adapted to pandemic to now outside of the pandemic classroom learning. There's some of the reasons why I think you might be one of the greatest teachers of all time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And this interview was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And also with the support of Transcendence Children and Family Services, I want to present you with this $100 prepaid gift card to use with you and your students in your classroom.
Thank you. That means a whole bunch coming from a teacher. So I appreciate that so much. That will definitely go to probably some new headphones for them.
Hey, see, there we go. There we go. I love it. So yeah, after the cameras go off, I'm gonna get your address, find a way to get this to you. But yeah, thank you again for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone else for watching The Greatest Teacher of All Time, where I, Quincy Dawson, interview teachers of color, tie up their philosophies, strategies, and personalities.